Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Nat's Numbers. I am Nat, and I'm here again to do a numerology question and answer segment. So today's question comes from the beautiful viewer named Bridget, and here's what she writes. Hey Nat, I had a question regarding a close relationship of mine. My best friend is a 1 life path, and I am a 9 life path. Even though he has a great heart, he is very competitive, condescending, and feels superior to others. It makes me feel insecure in a lot of ways because he's accomplished more than me since we both went to the same school since middle school, and I've been stuck taking care of my mother for all these years. How do I deal with somebody like this? Is distance best? Okay, Bridget, the first thing that we do when we deal with somebody like this is to start to deal with ourselves. Because what ends up happening is when we have a deep-seated insecurity, a deficiency, some sort of lesson that we haven't fully processed inside, our brilliant soul will project it out into relationships and circumstance. And so in this case, what we need to do is we need to process this insecurity that you have in regard to accomplishment, okay? So the first thing that I want to go over with this insecurity is what I call the virus of comparison. And I would say that about 95%, a high percentage of people that come to me for help with relationship, love, money, health, career, all of these things, it's all goes back to the one core issue. And that issue is valuing other people's paths and purposes and gifts more than our own. And the reason why that happens in today's world is because most of us, do not grow up in an environment where we have an advocate, where we have somebody who is a witness to our brilliance and to our uniqueness. Most of us have parents who were projecting their own insecurities and desires and agendas onto us. And so we learned to value and orient ourselves to another archetype, to another path that was more valuable. Unless by the luck of the draw, we were born into a family that had the same superpower that we did, a similar, archetypal blueprint, but most of us don't. So the really important thing for you to do, Bridget, is to learn how to value and orient yourself back to your 9 life path, to this beautiful yellow brick road that's right in front of you. Now, the funny thing is about you and Edward, your best friend, the funny thing is you guys have very, very different topographies that you're walking through in life. So as a 1 life path, Edward is sort of metaphorically walking through mountains, and you're sort of walking through, let's say you're sailing over the ocean. It's completely different lands, completely different experiences. Edward's life path is all about achieving, being independent, being self-focused, about reaching benchmarks to help to process and build up his confidence, because actually ones have a deep-seated insecurity and unworthiness. They feel like if they're not moving, achieving, acting, and accomplishing something, that they're worthless. If they even stop doing and take a moment to regroup and rest, it's like a mortal sin to them, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. So you need to recognize that driven nature and what can oftentimes be an overcompensation turning into egotism is really a mechanism to try to process this lack of confidence and the superpower of trying to lead the way into a new experience of life, okay? So whereas Edward is self-focused and wanting to achieve certain benchmarks in life, you as a 9 life path are selfless. You, instead of wanting to achieve something for personal gain like Edward, you want to give for universal well-being and brotherhood, sisterhood. What a vastly different dynamic, right? So what's really important is for you to realize why you're here in the situation that you're in and to value your flavor of accomplishment so that you can let go of this trigger and of this frustration whenever Edward shows up with his version of accomplishment. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a dear friend who I've known since kindergarten all the way up till, through college. And he was somebody who I always admired because he always sort of had this focused mentality. He knew where he was going and what he was doing. And so there came to be a time in our 20s where we hadn't seen each other for 5 or 6 years, and there was an opportunity to meet again. So I ended up driving to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, and we ended up meeting for dinner. And I was really insecure and really nervous about meeting him again and talking, because he had achieved so much. He had become a lawyer, and he had all of these things going on in his life, and this certain level of what I perceived to be clarity. And here I was, and I really hadn't achieved anything at that point in terms of like a degree or a particular niche of my life. I had become a mother, I had become a wife, and I was sort of feeling like I was going through an identity crisis. And so after dinner, we're walking and talking for hours and hours, and I was telling him about what had happened and transpired in my life, and he turned to me and he said, "You know what, Natalie?" He's like, "I admire you so much." He's like, "It's amazing how you've sculpted this life with this beautiful family, with this bonded relationship that you have at home that has allowed you to find out who you really are, so that you can now go out into the world and truly pursue it authentically." He's like, "What a beautiful way to live life." And it was this amazing moment for me where I realized that I was exactly where I needed to be, and that the reason that I went through that, the reason that I did life in a different way, and that my set of accomplishments were completely different than the people that I knew in school, was because that was what was meant to happen. If I hadn't created a family as early as I did, I now have an 11-year-old daughter, if I hadn't done that and had this amazing relationship with my husband, I would have never been able to get to the place of truly accessing my purpose and truly doing what I'm meant to do in the world. So I have a little exercise for you, Bridget. What I want you to do is I want you to write a list of the 10 things that you have achieved, received, or gotten out of from caretaking your mother. If this time of nourishing and taking care of your mother was college, what lessons have you learned? What skill sets have you acquired? Write a list of those 10 things and begin to reorient yourself back to seeing that you really are a fantastic, beautiful, wondrous person who had to go through this experience so that you could really access the true wisdom and the true generosity of spirit and a deeper compassion that you would have ever gotten from going the path of the One Life path, of going out and setting certain goals and achieving them benchmark by benchmark. Okay? So the last thing I want to talk about is directly in regards to friendship. So you are assessing your level of security, feeling a bit more full, and really honoring Edward and saying, "Thank you for teaching me how to love and honor myself more," right? But now what do we do? Well, there's this Seinfeld episode that really helped me a lot, because I, throughout my life, had this tendency to, if I had a friend, I would bring him close to me and I would just be like, I want to be best friends forever and let's do everything together. That was my tendency with a friend. And so there's this Seinfeld episode where Jerry is discussing the difference between an outside friend and an inside friend. So an outside friend might be a coworker, an acquaintance that you see at the store, at the coffee shop, but it's a big deal where you transfer that outside friend to an inside friend. And it's actually really true. And I think that what it teaches us is that we need to be strategic with how we bring people into our lives and where we place people in our lives. So to give you the example of this friend that I was talking about Matt, and this moment where he was really being this amazing advocate for me, that's an inside friend. That's somebody that really I feel safe and protected and regenerated by. But there's certain people that tend to drain us. There's certain people that for whatever reason, they trigger something in us and we need them in small doses. It doesn't mean that we just excommunicate people out of our lives because they don't meet our expectations. But it does mean that they stay outside friends. There are people that are one-dimensional. Like, they're not one-dimensional, but our relationship with them is. So you might have a friend that is somebody that you go and you do events with. You go to a party with them or to a concert. You might have a friend that's really great to just go and have a philosophical conversation with and a cup of tea or something like that, right? And Edward, for instance, might be somebody who would be perfect for giving you advice about starting fresh, starting new, and going and pursuing your individual desires and dreams, which might be really therapeutic for you. But the very important thing for you to do is to figure out if Edward is an inside friend. And the steps of learning how to assess your own insecurities and own them are going to help you do that. But to me, an inside friend is somebody that you admire. It's somebody you look up to, and is somebody who honors and respects you and makes you feel like You are a brilliant, lovable, awesome person. Okay? So I hope that this advice helped. And Bridget, please let me know how that list of 10 goes and what comes up for you. I'd love to hear about that. And for any of you out there that are also a 9 life path like Bridget, maybe having trouble with a 1 life path or some other friendship dynamic, please comment and let Bridget know how you're dealing with it and what you're experiencing. And if you want to be featured on the next question and answer segment, please comment over on my Facebook fan page, leave your birth name, your birth date, and also a simple 1-topic question, and you might be on the next question and answer segment. I'll talk with you guys later. Have a great day ahead. Thank you so much, Bridget.